I'm done. I'm so done. I can't believe it. They've been threatening, and they've been, posturing and supposing and all this other stuff, and they finally did it. Marvel has finally did it. And they have, not only did they do it, but they used the great Christopher Priest to do it. They, you know, the enemy will always use what you love against you. And I am so I'm at a loss for words that they have finally given the maggots what they've wanted. I'm done. I'm done. I'm about to burn my entire Marvel Comics collection, taking all these slabs off the wall, chucking them out the window. I'm not even selling it. I'm not even giving it away. I'm done. What us gonna do now? Man, y'all got to be out y'all mind. I don't know what to say about all this, but I guess I had to do some kind of follow up. Since my posting on Instagram when this book came out, and I don't know. It's a lot of things going on, but we are now embarking on the world to come. So, with that being said, if you don't know and you've been living up under a rock, what I am speaking of is the Marvel Knights new book, The World to Come. And this is being written by Joe Quesada's name is first, but I think this first issue was really done by Mr. Christopher Priest. But I don't know how they're doing that. However, who's the idea maker, who's filling in, or whatever the case may be. But it was a bad idea, y'all. It's just a bad idea. It's so bad. It's so bad. Oh my God. I don't know what to do. That's what they want you to think. That's what we want you to think. We want you to think that we're mad. Hey, listen, I've been living long enough, and I've read enough Christopher Priest work to know that you just gotta wait and play it out. You just gotta wait and see. And not only that, but if you, like somebody on Facebook said, people got to read completely, read the book entirely, not just the dialogue and the pretty pictures, but read also at what's at the end. Read the things that aren't so prevalent. So I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna see. I was pissed off when I came upon this book, and I was pissed off before I picked it up because I heard something, and then the way it unfolded, just reading the story, it was great. It was great. The story had me intrigued, and I think that is the masterminds who put this together. Sometimes, especially like it's like this. You know how you sometimes you come on YouTube and you see all the thumbnails and you see somebody, with the and the all those crazy ass faces, and you're like, damn, what is this about? And you click on it, and it's clickbait. And I think this first book, was definitely clickbait, and it definitely served its purpose. I definitely believe that, it's exactly what they planned. Every comic book head across the nation is talking about this book. Every person who vaguely knows about comics, who hears about comics, they're talking about this book. And to me, that's a stroke of genius. So anyway, let's get into what I really think about the world to come. Let's get it! All right, so let's get into this book and what I think about it. So first, I'm gonna show you the covers that I picked up. This first one is the cover A, and this was done by Joe Quesada himself. And I also picked up the Dan Panosian cover. I like this cover a lot. Thought that was really dope. And I also picked up the Alex Maleev variant cover with the claw, which was cool. This is the one that I actually cracked open to read. Other ones I just bagged and boarded them. And then I also got this Joe Quesada one per store variant. And thanks to my girl Natalie at Emerald City Comics, she grabbed this and put it aside for me, so I grabbed this one. There's a couple other covers. I did like the one with Storm, the David Mack variant. And the Joshua Swaby Storm variant was okay. I wasn't too, super excited about it. But there is another 1 in 25 Joe Quesada variant that's coming out. And then there's also a second printing of the Dan Panosian cover. And when y'all see this cover, it's gonna be like, how your wounds heal a little bit, and then somebody comes along and they bang into that same wound, or they snatch that scab back off again right before it really gets the healing well. Well, that's what this second printing of the Dan Panosian cover does for me. So anyway, so since we're talking about this book, I'm not sure if I want to talk about the general consensus, what people are thinking. A lot of people are upset. Me personally, at first, I was like, what the hell? What the hell is Marvel doing? Wait a minute. What is Christopher Priest doing? And, cooler heads prevail. And, my open-mindedness also came from some of my friends that I've talked to from my Facebook groups. From the Black Comic Lords, I watched their video. So you guys, if you haven't watched that, go back and check out the replay. They kind of touched on this book a little bit, talked about it. My man JT from the Black Comic Lords, me and him, we talk a little. Well, we trade comments on Facebook a lot. We kind of converse that way. But some of the things that he said and some of the stuff that other people said, really got me to thinking. Think about how Christopher Priest writes. Think about, just the art of storytelling in general. What is it? I always say when someone writes a story, you have to catch them with that hook, somewhere in the beginning. You gotta, just like fishing, you gotta dangle the worm in front of them and see what bites. And they took a chance, because they took a chance that some people are going to be like, we don't want this crap, and they're going to walk away from it. And then, they also took a chance that you have smarter heads that prevail and say, damn, that was shocking. What's next? The bad part about all of this is some of the maggots that have come out, and, they're celebrating and they're super excited, and they're taking it as another jab at, at black people. Just to put it plain and simple. They're, they know how revered and regarded and how beloved this character is. And there's no other character within comic books, period. I don't care, Image, DC, whatever. There is no other character that is loved and held in such a regard than the Black Panther. That is like, that's like somebody saying something about your mama almost, when it comes to comic book lovers and, blurs themselves. And we've gone through a lot of different things with the different writing, the Ta-Nehisi Coates. Some people weren't feeling that, even though, including myself, but I do give him credit for creating a lot of great stuff that goes on in the entire mythos of the Black Panther and Wakanda. He Who Shall Not Be Named completely destroyed the character from, that standpoint. And then the whole thing with recast T'Challa in the MCU, people up and down about that. And there's a lot of hurt that's been going on with the Black Panther character, and we felt a lot of hurt. And right now, we're continuing. There hasn't been a whole lot of healing. You have the Ultimate Black Panther series being written by Brian Hill, but there's always that thought that, hey, that's not main continuity. That's not 616. That's only the ultimate side of it, and that's not, quote unquote, that's not real. And they're also not thinking that, this is the Marvel Knights version, that, this isn't necessarily real either. None of it's real as comics, but you know what I mean. So anyway, getting into this book. So we open up with the Republic of Wakanda 16 years after the world to come. And, it starts off with, T'Challa sitting on this pearly white throne. The whole scene does not look like Wakanda at all. He's up on this throne like this is Olympus almost, it's somewhere that's very whitewashed. And I guess that's, I don't know if the artist intended on it being that way. And then this little girl comes up and she's bringing him, something to drink, some nourishment, so to speak. And she's awful light as well. It looks like she might be, she might be mixed herself. Looks, you can't, it's hard to tell, it's really hard to tell because it's, the shading in comics. But anyway, when I first seen her, I'm like, that's not a typical, Wakandan. That's not a typical African. But they want diversity on the flip side of it. And they want, they want to see that. So, okay. So this young lady, she comes up and she's trying to give T'Challa nourishment. And, she's talking to the king and he falls out. And I'm not sure how you say this, but she says Sofuego, which I guess, I'm trying not to add no Spanish tint to it, but, anyway, whatever that word is, basically, I'll put it up there somewhere, but it means enough. So he falls out, and then we go on, and then the next thing they're showing is 16 years after the world to come. We show Carnegie, Oklahoma, and there's this guy, well, the Dora Milaje come on with a bang. You see these people out here harvesting water. So I guess water is the new main resource. People are trying to harvest that and do something with it. Kind of stockpile it. I guess there's a shortage. But the Dora Milaje come on with a bang. They lay everybody down. Do what the Dora Milaje do. And this same young lady who was in front of the king when he passed out and supposedly died, she comes out, and you don't know it until she comes up and she's talking to this guy who's supposedly the leader. And the thing about it, when I was looking at it, I was trying to figure out who this guy might be. And first thing I was thinking, Achibe? Is it Achibe? Maybe it's him, but I don't know. This guy is really, really pale, and he looks like, I don't know who he looks like. He reminds me of Achibe. Like if you got Achibe and Claw, in human form mixed together, it may be something like that. Who knows? But anyway, she's come to, he thinks she's come to, to take him out, to choke him out. And he's like, okay, let's get over with it. And she's like, nah, she's like, I ain't come here for that. The wars are over, and I'm here. So, I can let you know that the king is dead and it's time to come home. So whoever this guy is, he is also Wakandan as well. So she's trying to convince him to come back to Wakanda. But he got to tell a story. And in his story, and he goes 8 years before the world to come. And then we go into the scene at the Warrior Falls. And this one, it shows T'Challa, your king, he's getting old. So he's super old right now. And him and this guy in a Black Panther shroud, with, I guess tiger with the tiger skin drape. I don't know. That's makes me kind of try to figure out, what is what's up with that, because so of course this kid is way outmatched and T'Challa is beating his ass, and but he's having mercy on him, and it is. And I can relate. I have a son that's an adult, and before he left home when he turned 18, we used to have clashes. Never anything where we were, where I had to physically, fight him or anything like that. We were raised better than that. But we bumped heads, and my son was upset at me, and I'm upset at him, and we had words, and that's. But I still held back, because that's my son. So I guess that's what's going on. And T'Challa is yelling up to these clerics that are up on the cliff watching. Instead of the rest of the nations, the different tribes of Wakanda standing there watching, you got these clerics up here that are conducting things, and T'Challa's telling them, "Hey, let's cool it. Let's he don't want no more. It's done." And this cleric M guy, who's a little bit stuffy, a little stuffy guy who has that position because nobody else wanted it. He think he running things, and he's like, nah, it ain't over. You got to kill him. And of course, T'Challa don't want to kill his own son. So it continues. The next thing we see is Wakanda City 24 years before the world to come. And so it talks about Storm and what happened to her. And it makes a mention of Storm passing away, Storm dying in the race wars. And instantly, I think a lot of people instantly thought, is it the race wars like black people versus white people race wars? But you got to remember, this is Marvel Comics. And, race wars could be humans versus mutants. And that could have been, what the case may have been. We got to wait for that, so we'll see what happens, and we'll see how that unfolds. Well, 24 years before, T'Challa is chilling in this big hall. There's a shrine to Storm, and his mom Ramonda is there to talk to him, and she's talking to him, and having a good conversation, and then. I ain't going to give everything away, so I'm going to let you read some of it. But at the end, she says, I wouldn't mind a grandson. So this kid, that kind of dates it to let you know that this kid is, not over 24 at least. He's still a young kid. And she's telling T'Challa that he needs an heir, and she wouldn't mind having a grandson. So next scene is 26 years before the world to come, and that shows Paris. And it shows some people coming outside of a jazz club. And when you say jazz and club and you think about that, you also think about Monica Lynn. So it's Monica Lynn that's coming out. She's coming out with, some dude that, I don't know, I guess his hair is blonde. You can't really see his eyes. But this blonde white guy comes out, and, they're all smiling in each other's face. And then she turns and she sees my man T'Challa standing there in the rain waiting. And he does the unthinkable. And I agree that whoever was narrating this saying that he made a mistake. But something happened, and he is down on his knees proposing. So I guess, we know where this is leading to. So next we go back and we find out that the young kid that T'Challa is fighting, his name is Katoma. And, I was careful when I was reading it. At one point, he says, you're my son. And then at another point, he says, you're my only son. And that's the part that, kind of resonated with me. I'm like, okay, he's saying that this is his only son. So, like, okay, this dude ain't got no more kids or whatever. He only got this one dude. So, okay, they continue to fight. They going back and forth. And it's obvious that Katoma hates T'Challa. He doesn't like his father. And T'Challa obviously loves Katoma more than, as a father should, without any of the rebellion and any of that affecting him. He's saying how much he loves him by not ending him, because he already done beat his ass, and he's trying to get him, to ease down. But as young kids, as these young bucks often do, they still want to keep going, and they're not mature enough to learn their lesson, back down, and have a little humility. So in the next pages, we see where Monica Lynn, she's out looking across. She's in the same little hall. She's out looking at the the monuments and the things that were put up for Storm's remembrance, and she's feeling some type of way, which she should. She should be a little bit, in her feelings, because here it is, you married to the king, and everything is supposed to be about you, but here he got all of these, not just one or two, but he got a multitude of statues of Storm, paying homage to her. So, she want to know, will the next wife have this shrine, or will the next wife have to endure this when she wake up and look out the window and the first thing she see is your ex? So she got a point, and why he did that, who knows? It's not something that a logical thinking person would do. So that makes me like what the hell is up with that? We gotta wait and see. But it also shows that she's pregnant. And she got the little belly, and she say the doctors have confirmed, and it's a boy. So, was thinking maybe that this is Katoma on the inside. But I'm going to pause it there, because remember when I was just saying that she was coming out of the jazz club, and she was with this white guy with blonde hair? So we know how real life is, and sometimes you be in situations where you might meet a young lady and she's just fresh out of a relationship, and then a couple months down the line you find out that she's pregnant, and you and her may know that that ain't your baby, but sometimes dudes step up and they say, okay, I married you, or I'm in this situation with you, I made a commitment to you, and I'm going to do best by you and this baby. And they end up raising the baby as their own, even though biologically that's not their baby. So I see positives to that situation, as opposed to, just thinking it's a bad thing. So, there's always a good and bad with anything, but, it can be a real positive, enlightening thing. And it does take a lot of love and dedication for a man to raise a child that's not his. But, we move on. So the scenes flip back to the Warrior Falls, and Katoma and T'Challa are still fighting, and some of these panels are showing T'Challa, and they're showing his age, that he is an old man with a receding hairline, looking like George Jefferson. He got the grays on the side, and this young boy is he giving him the work. Okay, so I realized that I missed the part. I missed the part where the little boy was, talking, acting immature, and, T'Challa done already told him to stay down. So he charged it to T'Challa, and, he ended up getting his ass flipped across the side of the waterfall, and T'Challa ends up diving down there to save him, because he doesn't want the kid to die. So he uses all his strength and his energy to go save this kid and bring him back up. I don't know how the hell they got back up so damn fast, but they do. They come back up, and then, T'Challa's saying, okay, he done. He's out. He's done. Cleric M is like, nah, he ain't done. He's still alive. You got to kill him. And then the boy is or he for the kid to concede. Kid wakes up, right at that moment, and he's like, I ain't quitting. I'm still here. So he's still, acting like a little peon or whatever. I was going to say the B word. But so he back at it again. He done got his, after his daddy done climbed all the way back up the falls to save his little ass, and brought him back up. Then he got all this energy, and he want to spark off again. So now that he's sparking off, he's in a position where, he giving T'Challa that work. T'Challa's winded, but he cheat. He grab a stick and he go to smacking T'Challa around a little bit, because he know even in a weakened state, T'Challa still is gonna beat that ass. So he smack him around, and then Cleric M says, "Okay, hold, fuego. We gotta pause this, because you ain't supposed to use weapons, and you're clearly using a stick as a weapon." And now T'Challa the king gets an hour of rest to get itself together. So getting down to the last couple of pages, and like I say, Katoma is giving old man T'Challa that work. My man is tired. He got the upper hand, because he's a little winded, And you know, it ends up where this cat, the last words that he say is, "I am king now, and Wakanda is mine." So this leads me to say, okay, that's what it is. And before I say that, I'm gonna let y'all see who this kid is, what this kid looks like, because he snatches off his mask, and all of a sudden, this guy, that don't even look like Ryan Gosling to me. He looked like, I don't know, he looked like a mad little girl. I don't know who he's supposed to be, but anyway, so with this book, it does ruffle a lot of feathers. It ruffles a lot of feathers because you have people that have been fans of the character for so long. Some people all the way back to the beginning, 1966, Fantastic Four 52 when he debuted. And remember when Jack Kirby and the great Jack Kirby and the great Stan Lee created the character. The reason why they created Black Panther was, in their words themselves have stated, that because there wasn't any black heroes. There wasn't there wasn't many black heroes, and there was all these other characters that were out there, and it was about representation back then. So saying that, to understand why people are upset these days about it, is because the most beloved character to black people and the black comic book fans and the blurs and a lot of other people, the most beloved character has now seemingly, because it's not actually that way, but seemingly has been race swapped, or the mantle of Black Panther. And this is one of the things that I also recognize as I read this book and I go over it. It's the mantle. They're always talking about it's the mantle. It's the mantle of Black Panther. And I think partially what's going on as well is Black Panther T'Challa. They're trying to get rid of that character. They're trying to go ahead and erase him from the future of Marvel Comics, and that's why they've been trying to give the mantle of Black Panther away. They've been trying to give it to Shuri. They even implied a couple other people, and yes, there has been a couple other people that have worn the shroud, the Black Panther shroud. But have they truly, been the Black Panther? You got Killmonger, who not only, took up the shroud and, the mantle of Black Panther, and then went and hung out with the Avengers like, he was T'Challa. You got Casper Cole, who they're saying he was, he's technically the first guy to be Black Panther. Or maybe Everett Ross, who, he just put on the costume, but I mean, he just put on the uniform. So I don't know how people are even trying to say that, he ain't never been in a real fight, period. So I don't know where that comes from. But anyway, nevertheless, it's, they've attacked T'Challa. They've attacked his personality. They've attacked his character. And it seems to be where they're trying to separate T'Challa from the Black Panther mythos. And that's something that you can't do because it's already written. It's already there. It's already in stone, so to speak. It's already been out there. So even with this kid, if he dons the Black Panther shroud and he becomes the Black Panther and he wears the Black Panther, he has that mantle. This book, it already sets up in the way that it's written, the way that it's drawn, that this kid is not going, number one, he's not going to last long being a Black Panther, and he's not going to be somebody that the true Black Panthers fans love. The only people that are going to love this character are the trolls and the maggots. And those people are the ones that are celebrating. And I think to kind of explain more into like us logical thinking people, and us kind of more mature people and intellectual people who understand how writing goes and how stories go, where our irritation and aggravation and sometimes a little bit of anger comes from is that you finally Marvel finally gave these people something to say, something to talk about. And I don't think it's ever a good thing to give the maggots, fuel, for their venom, basically, for them to be able to, spew out all these negative things. I'm gonna tell you, this is some of the stuff that I've been seeing, online. So this guy, Giobata Regini, is like, mate, I never thought this day would have come. All the libertards going crazy is so good. They're so excited. This guy Bash Spawn, he says, how does it feel when the boot is on the other foot? Ha 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 ha. He's super happy. This guy, I don't know why I'm saying these people's names, because it's whatever. But this one guy, he's like the opening voiceover. I was born a poor black Wakandan. So, he's saying that people aren't going to get that, but I'm old enough to know that he's reflecting back to, what's his name? I want to say his name is Steve Martin, but the movie The Jerk. If you guys remember the movie The Jerk from back in the day, if you're old enough, that's what he's referring to. So he's super happy about that. You got other people saying, now you know how we feel when Netflix does it. So I don't know. Is Netflix like swapping, race swapping, or gender swapping people? I don't know. So I don't know. I just remember Nick Fury and the Human Torch. We don't care. That's what this one guy says. This is the funniest thing Marvel and Disney could have done. Ha 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 ha. So, stay mad. Like my parents have always said, what goes around comes around. This other guy's like, they DEI'd so hard they brought diversity to Wakanda. This is the one of the comments I like. I think he's gonna look more like Garth from Wayne's World. Excellent. I thought that was funny. Somebody posted, the Black Panther will now be white. The tables have turned. One good turn deserves another. A taste of your own medicine. The shoe is now on the other foot. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. How does it feel? Why, you mad? So these are the kind of comments that have been coming out, and I don't know if Marvel, if Christopher Priest, if Joe Quesada, if they were insightful enough to foresee this being an issue or this being something like this. But it does speak to, like I said, it speaks to why a lot of us are upset, and it's really like somebody else said that, hey, it's truly not our character. The character belongs to Marvel, but does it? Yeah, it may be Marvel's creation. It may be Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's creation, but this is something that we have adopted, and the reason why this character has become what it has become is halfway because of the writing and the presentation of the character, and the other half is because of the people that receive it. I'm not really sure why this was the particular concept that they came up, why this is the story. But like I said, I've been a Christopher Priest fan from, his first rollover as the writer for Black Panther. I do believe that Christopher Priest is like the premier Black Panther writer of our day. Him, Reginald Hudlin, Don McGregor, Brian Hill, Cheryl Lynn Eaton, all of them were, very instrumental, and even Ta-Nehisi Coates. I'd be remiss if I didn't say Ta-Nehisi Coates, because, like I said, he's done a lot of great things when it comes to the character. It just wasn't, in the direction that some of us wanted it to go in, and that may be the case with this particular book. It may be a situation where, it's not where we want it to go, but we don't dictate that. We are just the consumers of the art, and it's up to us to appreciate it or not. So I'm not mad. I'm really anxious to see what this next issue has, and I've heard that there's an article where Christopher Priest is talking about it, and he says that the first two issues aren't so hot, but that third issue is going to bring you back. So I'm anxious to get there. And as I've always done from when I first started collecting comic books when I first restarted collecting comic books, should I say, about 10 years ago, I buy everything Black Panther. So if it has Black Panther in it, I'm going to buy it, and I'm gonna, add it to my collection. And this is I have who I have all of the issues from He Who Shall Not Be Named, when his series. I have all of that run still, and it's right over there. So it's all good. So we're gonna see what happens. I'm super interested in, y'all need to stop saying White Panther, because I can hit y'all with technicalities. Like, number one, T'Challa wasn't dead when he proclaimed this. He was laying in the water, but he wasn't dead. And as they said, the person has to die. Not only that, but the Cleric M has already declared that T'Challa gets an hour of reprieve. And then if you go back to the timeline and you start saying, the 8 years before, the 16 years before, the 24 years before the world to come, T'Challa dies as an old man, so he obviously does not die in this fight. So therefore, White Panther don't exist. So technically, so we can rewind all of that and cool our heels a little bit, and we'll see what happens next. But overall, I will say that this book, I give it a 4, and the reason why I give it a 4, I say it's a 3.5. Had it not been for this dramatic shock effect at the end. With that dramatic shock effect, it bumps it up, and this makes this a classic book because, whether we like it or not, it is an epic moment. This first appearance of Katoma, whether it's in continuity or not, this is an epic moment in the history of Marvel Comics and associated with Black Panther. So we're gonna see what happens, and we're, we'll see. But in the meantime, like I said, this particular video has just been about the World to Come book. This is just about that, and I'll make another video showing the other great stuff that I picked up. I did pick up some pretty decent books, some really good books, and there's another one that involves Wakanda in a not so great light. But it's an awesome book. So I'll tell you guys about that in the next episode. Until then, continue to evolve. It's your man Jay, and this is Evolutionary Comics, baby. Peace.